Hey folks, Deano here again. This time take a look at another Star Wars Black Series figure. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jedi Legend, from the very end of the Kenobi show, which, yeah, the Kenobi show had its ups and downs, but all in all, I think it was a decent show, especially when they introduced this outfit at the very end. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, this outfit is based off the mythos Obi-Wan, which I'm sure was it Sideshow Collectibles that created it, where it was basically a younger Obi-Wan, where he's more bedraggled, wearing, well, pretty much this outfit. The only thing it's missing is the backpack that had like Qui-Gon's lightsaber hanging from it, and his clone Wars armor, which I think it's a bit of a shame that they didn't include that. But the fact that this outfit even exists at all in 6-inch scale now is yeah, it's really good. So yeah, let's take a quick look at the box. So, as you can see, Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi Jedi Legend. Picture of him on the side, wearing the outfit, which, yeah, the outer cloak that he's sort of cut the arms off looks a lot better in this than it does in person, unfortunately. And a blurb on the back, just giving you a backstory on this figure. So yeah, let's get that out of the way. Bring him back in. So this guy actually comes with a few accessories, as opposed to Ahsoka. So he comes with the T16 Skyhopper that he gives to Luke, which you later see him playing with in A New Hope, which is pretty cool. This thing is an absolute nightmare to get out the package, by the way. For some reason, Hasbro thought it was a good idea to, one, not have it split in two, and two, have it in the package going through the blister shell, which basically meant it was lodged in there. I basically had to destroy that bit of the blister pack to get it out. But yeah, it's nicely detailed. There's some reds, a little bit of silver there, bit of black on the blaster cannon. So yeah, nice little accessory. Not something I'll probably have him holding, but it is there. He does have the goggles, which I've put in this pocket here just to give the pocket something to do. In the package, it's basically around his neck, which is admittedly where it is both in the show and in the mythos figure, but I don't really like them on. I would rather just keep it as is, but they do actually function as a pair of goggles. They do go over his head, which I suppose works quite well for the sands of Tatooine. And yeah, they're soft plastic. Surprisingly, even the lenses, which I think that entire front piece is the lens itself. Yeah, you can see on the back. Even though it's see-through, it's still really pliable plastic, rubbery. So yeah, I'm really impressed with that. Bit of silver, bit of brown. Not sure if this is a separate brown plastic that they injection molded. Sorry, it's getting late. Or if it's just the same red plastic that they've painted brown. Not that it matters. It does the job. It's nice enough. Those go back in his pocket for me. And finally, you get his lightsaber. The hand came off for a reason. I'll tell you why once we get to the figure himself. So yeah, you get his lightsaber. Fortunately, it was a bit warped in the package. You can see it's kind of bowing up the way. It can pop off, and it can fit on his belt using a little plug. And yeah, that fits quite well. Unfortunately, they did cheap out a little bit. This seems to have been moulded in black plastic and then painted, which for whatever reason, even though they've used silver paint here, they haven't painted the top of the hilt silver. Like, why is that black, Hasbro? Obi-Wan's lightsaber's never been black in its life. But yeah, something like a Sharpie won't fix, but yeah, that's a bit disappointing that they cheaped out in that, especially when they've got other minute details correct, like the actual ignition switch is painted a nice sort of coppery colour. Then you've got the gold colour for the bottom of the hilt, and yeah, I'll have to see if heating this up can put it back to its correct position. So yeah, last accessory is his cloak, although I don't suppose you could call that an accessory. But yeah, why does Obi-Wan get a cloak and Ahsoka doesn't, Hasbro? Like, really? Not that Hasbro's cloaks have ever been the greatest. Like, this material that they've used is actually kind of horrible. It's so flat and basic. There's no stitching anywhere. I mean, the only place there is stitching is on the hood, which for some bizarre reason they've thought it was a good idea to sort of stitch down the edges, which I suppose it makes it lay a bit better over the head. But then if you want to put it down, you can't, because that stitching's now in the way, and yeah, it's a bit of a mess. What I've started doing is folding it over in the middle and then tucking it under his hair, which sort of keeps it down on the front. Can't really see it on the back, so it's fair enough. But yeah, it is quite flat. You do really need to play with it a bit. If you get it like that, that looks pretty good to me. So yeah, cloak is a bit of a disappointment. I might be looking at a third party for that. In fact, I do already have like the old Rickhor cloaks from back in the day. Unfortunately, they no longer sell these. The seller sort of vanished. But yeah, if I take the stitching off the arms, I could use that. But it is a much lighter shade of brown. So yeah, we'll see. As for the figure itself, it's the details on it are pretty damn good. To be honest, I mean, that head sculpt, that is just Ewan McGregor. Like, no doubt whatsoever in my mind. Like, that's probably the best likeness they've ever got. But yeah, other paint apps, bit on the top of his boot there. Nice metallic gold on his waist. The brown's painted. This sort of baggy is also painted. And yeah, decent enough. The beard that's on him is also quite well painted. It's not flat. There's some different colours through it. And yeah, I mean, compared to Ahsoka, who I've just reviewed, she only came out, what, a year, 2 years ago at most, and the face print is like 10 times better on these newer figures. I don't understand it. Like, this is amazing. None of the figure arts Obi-Wan figures that I owned had a likeness anywhere close to that. But yeah, if anything, the one gripe I have with this figure, which is everyone's gripe, is these sleeves. They are so baggy and sculpted in such a way that the hand is completely buried in there. Yeah, I think the Jabim version of Obi-Wan had the same sleeves, and people complained about it then. I'm not sure why Hasbro didn't bother fixing it. But yeah, what I've resorted to doing is popping these out. These hands are just the same as the Lightning Collection hands, so they pop out easy enough. And I have popped it in just enough that you can hide the peg, which allows you to use that hinge a bit better. Combine that with the different moulding of the sleeves. Like if you have it that way, for example, you get a lot more range with it there. If you put that in his hand, just the lightsaber there, yeah, as you can see, he holds it a lot more naturally than like normal, which is more like that, which I really don't like. I prefer it to just naturally sit in place. So yeah, if you finagle enough, it does look quite a bit better. So yeah, that's my only gripe with the figure. In terms of articulation, his head can look up that far, can look down that far. It's just a ball peg, so free range of movement. This is a soft rubbery overlay, so his shoulders are a bit limited, but you can get away with it. He does have a butterfly joint, but that overlay makes it pretty much useless, to be honest. So yeah, he has no bicep swivel. Again, Hasbro seem to be doing this thing where they're putting the swivel in the actual elbow joint, which I suppose it hides an articulation point. So decent enough. Single jointed elbows, it gets about 90. Normally, these wrists just barely swivel. You can't use the pivot at all. Doing it my way, you at least get a little bit of movement out of it. The waist is just on a ball peg, so you can go back really far and go forward a fair bit if you push it. The legs aren't really hindered too much by the sort of lower part of the tunic. Single joint at the knee, which also swivels as well. No boot cut, but then it's right next to the knee anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And the Hasbro ankle pivot, which can go forward and back really well, and pivots really far to the sides. So yeah, all in all, this is probably my favourite look for Obi-Wan. This guy will probably never get replaced unless Figure Arts ever decides to make this specific version of the figure. But until that time, Black Series takes it. Like, they really do. Like, I am honestly so impressed by that face print that any other issues with the figure can be overlooked. I know some of you are probably screaming at the the computer screens of the tablets or whatever you're watching on. about the wrists, but yeah, I'm not going to have this guy in any sort of fighting pose anyway. So as long as I can get that lightsaber into a more natural position to be on the shelf, I'm happy enough with it. I really am. So yeah, guys, there we go. Just maneuver that. There goes his arm. Come on, don't make me look bad. I swear, Black Series figures. They always fight against you. So yeah, that'll do it for this review, guys. I'll see y'all later.